Mom, I think I'm pregnant. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
What? Who's the father? Claire is still only 14 years old. I had never heard any talk of her dating anyone. However, the fact that she confided in me must mean it's something serious. But I still don't know who the person is, or if she's really pregnant. In the midst of all this uncertainty, an even more troubling situation arose. I received a call from the police saying that my husband and daughter had jumped off the roof of an apartment building. While the two were still unconscious, one of the mom friends who came to visit made a shocking statement.
That girl, I heard she was involved with her father. Gross, right?
What? What do you mean by that? Please don't make such baseless statements.
Oh, did you hear that? My son was consulted by your daughter, so there's no mistake.
My heart froze in an instant. I wanted to believe that there was no way it could be true about my daughter and husband. Unable to hold back, I shouted at her for spreading such baseless rumors. However, I soon realized her intention. It was something so malicious and shocking. My name is Amy. I live with my husband, Bob, and our daughter, Claire. Bob works as a sales representative for a small trading company, and I work part-time at a grocery store, so we're not very well off. We live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. You could say we don't lead a wealthy life.
Amy, I'm sorry for making you struggle with my low salary. It must be hard every month. If only I could earn more.
What are you talking about? I'm grateful that you work so hard for us. I'm working part-time too, so don't worry about it. Bob always apologizes for his low income. It's true that our finances are tight and we can't afford a luxurious lifestyle. But with a kind husband and a smart, energetic daughter, I had no real complaints. Our daughter, Claire, is very bright and always at the top of her class in middle school. Although her classmates attended tutoring classes, we couldn't afford that. But Claire improved her grades without needing extra help. Her school teacher assured us that if she kept up her current pace, she'd definitely get a recommendation to her preferred high school. As a mother, I was very proud of my daughter. However, at some point, Claire, whom I thought was enjoying school life, started to show signs of change. Lately, Claire has been sighing more often. Hey Claire, you seem quite down these days. Is something bothering you? If you want, you can talk to me.
Huh? No, I'm just a bit sleep deprived. Don't worry about it.
I was worried about Claire, so I asked if anything was troubling her. She laughed it off, saying she was just sleep deprived. She did have dark circles under her eyes and often seemed out of it, but it didn't seem like mere sleep deprivation to me. Then one day, Claire confided in me with a shocking revelation.
Mom, I think I might be pregnant.
Pregnant? Calm down, Claire. Why do you think that? Do you have any idea how this could have happened? Claire is still only 14 years old. I had never heard any rumors about her dating anyone in particular. But the fact that she decided to confide in me must mean it's something serious. Trying to stay as calm as possible despite my confusion, I asked Claire. However, Claire just sobbed, and saying she didn't want to talk about it, didn't tell me anything more, and shut herself in her room. I wonder who could have hurt Claire like this. Without any details, I was completely baffled. But if she really is pregnant, she needs to visit an OB/GYN for a checkup. I immediately discussed it with Bob when he got home.
Pregnant? I can't believe it, not Claire.
Right. I felt the same way. But if a smart girl like her is that upset, she must have some reason to believe it.
No, as smart as she is, she's still only 14. She might be misunderstanding something.
I've asked her repeatedly, but she won't tell me anything, so I don't know.
I'll try talking to Claire myself.
Claire has always been a daddy's girl, often sharing her troubles with Bob. Maybe she can share things with Bob that she can't tell me. Since Bob said to leave it to him, I decided to let him handle it for now. Then a few days passed. Claire has been holed up in her room ever since, skipping school. And then, at 3 p.m. that day, while I was on a break at work, I received a call. "Hello, what Bob?" When I answered, it was from the local police.
Ma'am, please stay calm and listen. The thing is,
The officer said that Bob and Claire had been taken to the hospital. It was reported that the two jumped from the rooftop of a certain apartment building. Fortunately, their lives were spared, but both are in critical condition and still unconscious. I rushed to the hospital in a panic.
There happened to be some bushes where they jumped from the apartment building, which acted like a cushion.
According to the doctor, if it weren't for the bushes, they would have suffered severe injuries and likely wouldn't have survived. While I'm relieved they avoided the worst-case scenario, I'm still worried about the two of them remaining unconscious. I also wonder why they jumped from the apartment. It might be related to Claire's pregnancy, but with both of them unconscious, I have no way of knowing. After the doctor's explanation, a police officer approached me. A witness happened to see the incident, and according to the statement, Bob first pushed Claire off the rooftop, and then he jumped himself.
have you heard if the two were troubled by something? Or maybe they had made some enemies?
Asked by the police officer, I confessed that Claire might be pregnant, as she had been worried about it yesterday. But I also said that I didn't know who the other party might be, nor if she was indeed pregnant.
I see. So they might have jumped following a discussion about the pregnancy. We'll now conduct a scene investigation, and your information will be very helpful. Thank you.
The police officer then left. At that moment, I didn't realize someone had been secretly listening in. With a heavy heart, I returned to the hospital room and looked at the two still sleeping. I wondered how all this had come to be. No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't find an answer. As I was sitting there, feeling down, the hospital room door was knocked on several times. Wondering who it could be, I opened the door to find a few of Claire's classmates' mothers. That is, several of my mom friends. It seemed they had heard about Bob and Claire's jump and had come to visit, but I wondered how the news had reached them. Puzzled, yet inviting them into the room.
This must have been very hard on you.
They all offered me words of sympathy. I told them that the two were still unconscious, and I had no idea why all this had happened.
If there's anything we can do to help, just let us know.
After receiving these reassuring words, they left the hospital room. After seeing them off, I felt thirsty and headed towards the vending machine in the ward.
I heard that the girl was involved with her father.
It was Diana, one of the mom friends who had just come by. She's the president of the middle school PTA and is known for her high pride behavior.
I happened to overhear Amy talking with the police, and it seems like Claire might be pregnant. It must be the father's child. They must have jumped out of distress.
Please don't make such baseless statements. That can't be true. It's just an accusation. I yelled at Diana as she blurted out her assumptions.
Oh, you heard that, did you?
Caught off guard, Diana showed a flustered expression, but quickly scoffed and then blurted out something outrageous.
My son had been consulted by your daughter, so there's no mistake.
Your son, Kenny? Diana's son, Kenny, is in the same class as Claire, but I had never heard from Claire that they were close enough to discuss such private matters.
Yes, she came to him saying she was pregnant with her father's child, wondering what to do. I understand you don't want to believe it, but isn't there jumping off the building proof enough?
What are you saying? Diana and I got into a heated argument at her outrageous claim. The other moms couldn't stop us and just looked on helplessly. Eventually, a police officer who must have been on standby at the hospital came to break us up.
Please calm down. You are in a hospital here.
She started the argument. I was just telling the truth. I better get going.
It's because you're spreading nonsense.
Whatever, I've had enough. Poor people jumping off our fancy condo building, such a hassle. I'm leaving now.
Diana said this and walked away. It turns out that Bob and Claire had jumped from the condo where Diana lives.
I'm sorry for bringing her here during such a difficult time. It's terrible that this happened.
The mom friends apologized to me. Everyone seemed puzzled by Diana's behavior. Hours later, sitting in the waiting room, I was called by a doctor. I wasn't sure if it was good news or bad news. Feeling anxious, I entered the examination room and waited for the doctor's words. A police officer was also present, which only added to my anxiety.
Your daughter was not pregnant.
Really? I was relieved for the moment. But why had Claire thought she was pregnant? Confused, the police officer then shocked me with a statement.
It's hard to say this, but we suspect that the two were pushed.
Pushed? What do you mean?
The investigation at the scene doesn't quite add up to them jumping from the roof.
Who would do such a thing to them?
We have a good idea who the culprit might be, based on something left at the scene by your husband.
Bob's bag was found on the rooftop of the condo, containing only his work notebook and wallet.
Bob's phone wasn't left at the scene. Could he have forgotten it at home?
I'll have to check it home, but Bob always carries his phone with him.
I see. It's possible then that someone deliberately took the phone. Now, ma'am, please look at this.
The officer then showed me a small black notebook. I recognized this notebook. It's Bob's. Inside were some IDs and passwords.
We found out this belongs to a cloud storage service, a kind of online data storage service.
The officer took out what seemed to be his phone and logged into the cloud service.
Please listen to this.
Hearing the audio file stored there, I was stunned. And this data revealed who the culprit of this incident was. The next day, I called out a person outside the condo where the accident happened. You pushed Bob and Claire, didn't you?
Why did you call me out here all of a sudden? Stop making baseless accusations.
Don't play dumb.
I don't know what you're talking about. Don't take your family problems out on me.
Diana said this with a mocking laugh, sneering as she spoke. However, after hearing that audio, I am convinced that she was the one who pushed them both. Despite my questioning, Diana refused to admit anything, so I pulled out my smartphone and played the audio for her. It was a recording of a conversation between Bob, Claire, and Diana just before the incident. From that conversation, it was revealed that Diana's son, Kenny, had been unilaterally pressing Claire to date him.
I want to focus on my studies right now.
Claire declined his advances. Angered by the rejection, Kenny began to harass Claire persistently. Claire's sighs and lack of sleep were likely due to these troubles with Kenny. Finally, Claire decided to consult with Bob.
Stop following her around.
Bob apparently confronted Kenny directly. Then, Claire was summoned by Diana.
You're leading all the boys at school astray, aren't you? You must be involved with a teacher too, right? I heard you're pregnant.
Diana accused Claire like this. Claire, of course, denied Diana's words, but her attacks did not stop. "If you deny it, then prove it," Diana insisted, handing Claire a pregnancy test. Reluctantly using the test, hoping to satisfy Diana, Claire shockingly got a positive result. It's unthinkable, but Claire, only 14, was in despair over how she could be pregnant. When Claire returned home, she reported to me that she was pregnant, but when I asked who the father was, she had no idea and couldn't give an answer. Later, as Bob persistently tried to learn more about the pregnancy from Claire, she confided in him about her encounter with Diana and the pregnancy test. Bob investigated further and suspected that the pregnancy test was a fake, designed to always show a positive result. On the day of the incident, Bob took Claire with him during a break from work to confront Diana. Diana admitted it was supposed to be just a prank, but when she realized Bob had recorded their conversation on his smartphone, she started to panic.
"I'll sue you for defamation. I don't know what you're up to, but you'll pay for hurting my daughter."
Quiet. Give me that smartphone.
Diana, nearly hysterical, apparently tried to snatch the smartphone from Bob. During the struggle, Diana pushed Bob. The audio recording ended abruptly with Bob's scream. "Even with this, you still claim you're not the culprit?"
That's a fabrication. Modern editing technology is quite impressive, isn't it?
Diana bravely claimed the voice in the recording wasn't hers, though her demeanor clearly showed she was panicking.
There's more evidence.
At that moment, the police officer handling the case appeared. I had asked him to be on standby nearby. The police had doubts about the witness statement claiming someone had fallen from the condo rooftop. After all, the witness was Diana herself.
It's a high-rise building. Normally, even if trees acted as a cushion, one wouldn't survive a fall from that height.
The police, suspecting Diana's testimony, checked the rooftop security cameras and found no footage of Bob and Claire going up there.
However, fingerprints from you, Bob, and Claire were found on the railing of the cafe terrace on the 3rd floor.
It's normal for my fingerprint to be there since I live here.
That's odd, because that day was the cleaning day for the building. In the morning, the cleaning staff thoroughly cleaned all handrails. So why were your fingerprints found?
The officer pointed out that the fingerprints discovery after the cleaning indicates that the three of them were on that terrace that afternoon, a definitive proof of their presence.
It's all your daughter's fault.
Seemingly resigned to no escape, Diana finally admitted to the crime. Her admission was, to say the least, shocking. Diana admitted that after seeing Bob pushed off, a shocked Claire leaned out from the terrace to follow her father, and Diana pushed her too, intending to silence her. After pushing both of them, Diana regained her composure and went downstairs to retrieve Bob's smartphone. The phone was already damaged, but she took it with her just in case, worried that the data might be recovered. However, Diana didn't know that the data was being synced and saved in real time to the cloud. After the crime, it was Diana who moved Bob's bag from the cafe terrace on the 3rd floor to the rooftop. It seemed that jumping from the rooftop, rather than from the 3rd floor, appeared more like a natural way to take one's life, which is why she staged it that way. Diana had long been irked that Claire, who did not attend tutoring, was outperforming her son, Kenny, academically, and she harbored a grudge after her son was rejected by Claire. As part of her harassment, she bought a pregnancy test online that would always show a positive result and successfully unsettled Claire by persuading her to use it. According to her plan, Claire stopped attending school. If Claire was absent, her son could become the top student at school. Driven by such a petty motive, Diana deceived Claire. However, when Bob realized that the pregnancy test was a fake and confronted her about her actions, she panicked and pushed both him and Claire off. Far from showing any remorse, Diana spread rumors that Claire must have jumped because of the pregnancy. She might have thought that spreading rumors would turn lies into truth, but the police were not so easily fooled. The investigation, along with the audio data Bob left behind, exposed all of her clumsy attempts at a cover-up. I could never forgive such despicable behavior. What you did is a crime. Claire and my husband are still unconscious. We don't even know if they will wake up. Do you understand the gravity of your actions? She didn't respond, just hung her head. Regardless of her wishes, her crimes would be judged in court. And then, Diana was taken by the police to the station. It's over. But even if the culprit is known, the two of them are still. Thinking of Bob and Claire, still asleep in the hospital, was heart-wrenching. If only they could regain consciousness. All I could do was pray. A few days after Diana was taken away, the hospital called me at home. It seemed that the two of them had regained consciousness. Rushing to the hospital, I saw them sitting up in their beds. Bob, Claire, I'm so relieved. I cried tears of relief seeing them both. According to the doctor, fortunately, they showed no signs of lasting effects and were told they could return to normal life with some rehabilitation. While they would have to stay in the hospital for a while longer, their discharge wasn't far off. Later, Diana was arrested for attempted murder. Even during the police interrogation, she was screaming that she was not to blame and showed no signs of remorse. However, despite her lack of remorse, the trial resulted in a prison sentence for her. When her imprisonment was confirmed, she broke down, crying uncontrollably in public. Following Diana's arrest, both the school and the education committee were thrown into chaos. Her husband, who had been the PTA president, was forced to resign, and their son, Kenny, had to transfer schools. It seems Diana and her husband divorced, and when she is released from prison, no one will be there to pick her up. We had been instructed to have no contact with her ever again, so after her release, she is planned to move to a distant prefecture. We may never meet Diana again, but I hope she reflects on her rash actions. Meanwhile, our family has grown closer than ever since the incident.
Mom, I'm sorry about that time. I couldn't come clean right away.
Claire apologized for not having disclosed the circumstances under which she was given the pregnancy test. Possibly because Diana and I were friends among the moms, it seems that made it harder for Claire to tell the truth to me than to Bob. It's okay, don't worry about that. I'm just happy to see you both safe and sound again. Both were fully recovered and looked healthy. Claire, trying to make up for the time she missed, was studying harder than ever. She apparently wants to become a lawyer.
I want to become a lawyer who can fight against people who deceive others, like Kenny's mom. I can't believe I was tricked by such tactics. I'll never let that happen again.
Claire was passionate about her future dreams, unable to forgive herself for being deceived by such malicious tactics. Despite everything that happened, she never gave up. Instead, she found her own goal, and I am proud of Claire's strength. We may not have the wealth to live in a high-rise condo like Diana, but we have something much more important in our family: the bonds of family and trust in each other. Ironically, the incident allowed us to reaffirm these values, which are more important than money.